operating costs. And you can see from this video here, I think we've got 8 technicians boarding the platform. You can see that's even faster than you could have 8 people board an offshore wind turbine. So we think floating is the way to go. It really improves our maintenance philosophy and our approach. And during the course of the year, the SR2000, we had very positive, as I said, power production. So our power production curve, we're very happy to share this with people to show the production over the course of the year, and just to show the benefits of how easy and quickly we can maintain and access the turbine. And this is obviously important for increasing the uptime, reducing the levelized cost of energy. Fortunately, as with all good things, the SR2000 came to an end, so it's kind of a bittersweet picture in a way, this from my perspective. One, it's a shame to have seen the end of that kind of groundbreaking prototype machine, to see that decommissioned, but also in a way, I suppose, kind of a good thing to show that we can complete the full life cycle process of tidal energy. Looking at the UK supply chain as we were in this picture, it's important to show that we could do that locally. We have been looking at other jurisdictions in the world, notably Canada as well, to see, to analyse the capabilities of the local supply chain to support this type of work. So that's a bit of kind of background about Orbital Marine Power, the technology that we've been developing to date. Now, I suppose kind of switching hats, more with my kind of Marine Energy Council, which is the trade body now that's representing marine energy in the UK, just giving an overview in terms of what the UK is looking at the moment in tidal stream energy. And we've been very active over the past kind of 6 to 9 months, I would say, in engaging with UK government. And the key question that we keep getting asked is, why should the UK be interested in tidal stream energy? And this is not a particularly exciting slide, but it gets the key point across. In the UK, there's an estimated 6 gigawatts of exploitable tidal stream sites around the country. And this tidal stream energy could generate a new industry. We talk about green growth. This is one of those key opportunities that we see. And in the UK, we think this could generate a net cumulative benefit by 2030 of £1.4 billion. And we could create considerable export, creating in the region of 4,000 jobs. There's not many other green energy plays that are out there that enable a country to drive forward like this. And I suppose, as represented by the slides that Roland was showing, the activity that we're seeing in Canada, there's a similar opportunity that Canada has to secure this development potential. But as I said, in the UK, we have excellent resource. But it's wave, tidal stream, and tidal range. This is a relatively old map, but the great thing, I suppose, about renewable energy resources is that they don't go anywhere. They stay where they are. The tides are predictable. Where the UK is located in terms of the wave resource, that's not going anywhere. So we can have confidence, at least in that area, in terms of developing the technology, that we have an indigenous resource that we can work towards. And what that has led to is, a very keen focus of deployment and activity today. So this is a kind of a brief summary table, if you will, of a number of the, I suppose, prominent prototypes that have been deployed and generated electricity within the UK over kind of the past 12 years now. So looking back to the Open Hydro platform that was deployed up in EMEC in 2008, the MCT CGen device deployed in Strangford Lough. And in total, between prototypes and commercial demonstrations, including the O2 turbine, which I'll come on to, which is being built at the moment, there's 17.95, to be precise, megawatts, which have been deployed and tested within the UK. And this is an important piece of information here, because we talk a lot about kind of where the cost of energy is. And there was a report that was produced by the Offshore Renewable Energy Catapult, which is a research organisation within the UK, which was looking at what the cost of energy was, trying to explain to UK government where should they be setting the contracts for difference mechanism, which is, how do I put this politely, a highly bureaucratic version of a feed-in tariff is probably the nicest thing that I can say about the contracts for difference mechanism. It is highly bureaucratic, it's very complicated. It's designed to support large-scale offshore wind and has been incredibly successful in encouraging offshore wind deployment and cost reduction within the UK. And what we're engaged in at the moment with the UK government as the Marine Energy Council and as industry at large is talking to government about how they can alter the system. And one of the key things is setting an appropriate, what they call strike price, so the price of power that you would be paid for this. So what we did is we looked at the Offshore Renewable Energy Catapult report and their trajectory. And I'm sure many people will be aware of these types of approaches, the idea that as you deploy more technology, the costs reduce. So, and cost reduction comes from two key areas. One, you've got innovation, and two, you've got economies of scale. And within that as well, you've got cost of capital. And I'll come on to that in another slide here. But when we were asked by government, well, what's the price that we should be setting for tidal stream energy within the CFD? We took a very top-down approach. It was difficult, and I'm sure everyone will appreciate, complicated to get highly confidential information off of a large number of technology and project developers. So what we've started off by doing, and we're engaging in further discussions with BEIS, the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy within the UK, is as an opening play, we presented to them, look, we have 17.95 megawatts, which has been deployed within the UK. If we follow the logic outlined by the Offshore Renewable Energy Catapult, this puts us at a price in 2012 money, I must add, at a price of approximately £250 per megawatt hour. And that's really the opening discussion that we're having at the moment to see if it's possible to change the CFD mechanism to ring fence effectively an amount of capacity to support tidal energy at that sort of level. And in terms of, are we on track for cost reduction, or where does that look like it's coming from? As I said, this is the work that has been completed by the Offshore Renewable Energy Catapult. As I said, they're looking at the accelerated reductions associated with innovation. There's learning by doing. There's cost of capital, which takes us down to a point, around about £125 per megawatt hour, again in 2012 money, and then hoping, targeting to get below this £100 a megawatt hour, and approximately, effectively what we're looking at is trying to get to a sub £90 per megawatt hour cost there. That's an important figure here within the UK in terms of cost of energy, because that's kind of the benchmark point. The energy policy in the UK is looking at kind of cost of some of the new nuclear plants which are coming online, but also in terms of cost of some of the very large tidal range projects which have been proposed in the past to government. So that's really the benchmark that we have to get to. And what we're saying is, okay, there's 6 gigawatts in total tidal stream market within the UK. We need support to help get below this £90 a megawatt hour for the first gigawatt. But beyond that, you've got a further 5 gigawatts of predictable, reliable electricity that can be created and generated whilst producing huge green economic benefits for the UK. But there's clearly this support mechanism that needs to be put in place to help us transition from where we are into this. And that's the key area that we're focusing on. So what is this pipeline of activity? Where are we going to find this gigawatt of projects and activity that we're looking at? And what we've pulled together here, and again, this was part of a wider industry response to Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. We collated all of the various projects around the country that had, now it's a fairly kind of clear development process, well, as clear as any renewable energy project development process can be. here within the UK, in that you secure an agreement for lease from the Crown Estate, you also secure your Section 36 marine licence, and then you secure your grid offer. If you secure those three pieces of project assets in terms of your development process, you can then apply to the CFD to secure the revenue support mechanism. And what we've been able to do, hasten to add, all of the information that's on this table here is all publicly available. There's no privately available information here. We can see that in total, there's just over a gigawatt of sites which have secured agreement for lease. And in terms of where they're at with their Section 36 and grid offer, there are various different stages here with this. But what this can do is it provides us a fairly clear idea of where those projects are going to come forward, and helps us show that, and give government confidence that, look, there's the pipeline of projects here. The technology has been developed. As you noted, 3.2 gigawatt hours produced by the SR2000. Those of you who are tracking the numbers, it's over 30 gigawatt hours now, which has been produced by the Magen project with both the Atlantis and Andritz turbines. And then there was an additional Nova Innovation turbine deployed up in the Shetland project recently that continues to produce electricity into the grid. So there's huge amounts more confidence now in the technology and what we're producing. So the question is, what are we going to do in terms of actually helping us drive down that cost of energy? And I'll shamelessly just come back to a very quick kind of overview as to what Orbital's up to at the moment. So in terms of what we're looking at next, this is our next generation machine. This is the O2. This is, from what we believe, is the machine that's going to help us get down to that sub 90 pounds a megawatt hour. And critically, to do that, we've extended the rotor diameter, so it's a 20-meter rotor diameter. That's the largest rotors on any tidal turbine in the world. We've altered the lifting mechanism. So those of you who heard me talk about this before, it's either a Tesla Model X or a DeLorean from Back to the Future in terms of that actuation moment of bringing the nacelles up above the waterline so that we can access them a lot better. And it's this low-cost installation methodology, and the fabrication process is very analogous to shipbuilding, which really helps us drive that down. Importantly, we're not just looking at graphic images of this, we're actually building this at the moment. These are the blades. The first one of those has been built in Gosport and is undergoing some load testing. These are the parts of the drivetrain. These are the nacelles which are being fabricated in Germany by our partner SKF. This is the pitch and hub system, again being produced by SKF in Sweden. This is a time-lapse video of the electrical skid that's been actually put together by the Orbital engineers up in Orkney. This is the leg retraction system. Again, this actuates the hydraulics to lift and lower the legs. This is you can see the actuation system here within the main hull. The legs have now actually been connected onto this. We've tested this, it's working up and down. The nose structure and the tail structure have just been shipped to Dundee. And we're just completing kind of the final painting and actual assembly of the full structure at the moment. Final one you can see here is the anchor baskets, and that's being brought up from Anglesey. It's in Orkney now, and we're undergoing some of that onshore testing. As you can see here, practicing installing and retrieving those anchor baskets. So our supply chain is the length and breadth of the country, the UK. We're on time and on budget, which, for those of you who've worked in marine renewables for a while, that in itself is an achievement for a project. But importantly, we've achieved that even with the coronavirus global pandemic ongoing. This project we're building now is a commercial demonstrator. It's funded with £7 million of commercial debt financing, and we think that this really paves the way for future rollout and opportunities. Outside of pure electricity production, I think, as Roland said, we see opportunities combining this with hydrogen production, as we already have done up in Orkney, looking at desalination, battery storage, and in fact also run-of-river. We believe that our technology we've developed now could be suitable for that. So I welcome further questions on this, and look forward to the panel, and encourage people to follow the Orbital story on our social media channels. You'll see lots more exciting pictures of the build as it moves through.